Welcome to another episode of the Ask Amity Show. My name is Edmund.
I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Cindy.
And we are the attorneys here at Amity Law Group. The topic for this episode is about employee handbooks. And specifically, we're going to answer the question, do I need an employee handbook for my company? So Jennifer, can you tell us what an employee handbook is?
Sure. So an employee handbook essentially is a manual basically of your policies within the workplace. So usually, each one of your employees would receive a copy or have a copy readily available to them. They would sign off on receiving and having read a copy of that, acknowledging that. So within the handbook, there's some important information for them to understand and be aware of. So usually, that covers kind of your vacation policies, what type of sick leave they have, if they get injured, who to report their injury to, and it really comes down to the type of business that you have. So each industry might be customized a little bit differently. Some may have a bulkier kind of section on safety issues, maybe like warehouse workers and whatnot. So usually we would talk to our clients, get a feel of what their company and kind of the work that they do, and then we'll customize an employee handbook based on their industry and the number of employees that they have. So it would include kind of state laws and state compliance issues, along with maybe some federal regulations as well if they are a bigger company. So it's really important that we recommend these to our clients because this is the only kind of written documentation that you might have in order to prove that certain things were communicated to your employees. So a lot of times, employees may claim certain things, dispute with the employer, and you need some evidence to show that, hey, this was already told to them. They were aware of this issue and they signed off on this handbook, and so it's really important that our clients understand this, and employers are ready and kind of plan ahead to communicate certain aspects of their workplace to their employees. And maybe Cindy can kind of tell you about the consequences of not having an employee handbook.
Yeah, so the consequences of not having an employee handbook really will show itself once you're sued. Hopefully you're not, but if in fact you are sued, one of the first things that we as attorneys will ask of the employer is whether or not they have an employee handbook. So, again, Jennifer pointed out this earlier, is that it really is the only document that you may have with your employee, whether or not certain things were communicated. The handbook is really a place where we start because we want to know what is the workplace culture here. Is it a place that inherently a place that will grow hostility and harassment, or is it a place that has an anti-harassment policy that's clearly stated in the handbook? And if we can, show to the other side, to your employees, people who are suing you, that the company actually has a very cohesive and very thorough anti-harassment policy, or even stating certain other policies that you have in the company, and that you are actually carrying out those policies. If it's employees making complaints and the procedures on making complaints, we can point to the handbook that, hey, there are procedures and these are the steps that were taken when an employee makes a complaint against maybe their coworkers, or maybe a manager. So it's really important to have a handbook in that sense, because it's really the only thing that we can look at to show what are the policies, what are the process to make a complaint, and what's the workplace culture like.
Yeah, and I think, for instance, when we speak with our clients, sometimes they come in and they bring in already a lawsuit. They've received a claim from the Labor Commissioner's office, maybe for failure to provide lunch breaks, failure to provide rest breaks. So the first thing we look at, like Cindy said, is if you had an employee manual, an employee handbook, within that it'll already state, hey, you're entitled to a certain amount of breaks during the work time and how much lunch break you have. So those would prove that, hey, this was communicated to the employee and they knew about taking this break, but maybe they didn't take it, upon themselves. And so it really serves a purpose to evidence that you did indeed have this policy. And also, like Cindy mentioned, it really does help to deter potential lawsuits. If an employee sees, hey, my employer really has a system down. They have formalized agreements, they have employee handbooks, we have this procedure in place already. So, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to win if I sue this employer because I already signed off on this employee handbook. So it really does serve a purpose, not only by evidence to show, if you were already sued, but also to help deter potential claims.
Absolutely. So yes, your employee handbook is going to be the first thing and maybe the only thing that you give to your employee. You want them to know what is it like working here. So it's not only does it deter, but it also helps people stay in line as well. So it's the employee handbook is not just for the employee, it's also for managers and supervisors to know what employees are entitled to. So it all keeps everyone on the same page and hopefully doing all the right things.
So the big takeaway here is make sure that you do have an employee handbook for your company, just in case you get sued by your employees, because you never know. And we've written a very detailed guide on employee handbooks, and we're going to link it under this video for you to read. And if you ever have any questions, you can schedule a free consultation with us and we'll help you. And I think that's it for this episode. So we'll see you next time on the Ask Amity Show.